that have a vision, that have something that they want to solve and for the world and execute on it. Because there's one thing to have a vision and a plan and ideas and all that stuff, but if you don't know how to execute on it, from the brand side to the technology side to the marketing side, it's just an idea. It's a wish. Welcome to the Vision Room, where we help people, brands, go from vision to execution. And I'm here with my two other friends, Marcin and Joel Keith. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Good to see you here.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe we can give some intro. How Joel found his way here.
Yes.
I stumbled off the streets, the web streets, and I found myself in this chat room. So I figured we'd hang out.
Tattoos and all. Yes. Yeah, we need a little edge for the show. That's why we brought Joel, because he has more tattoos than both of us combined. And we are so grateful to have you.
I'm helping to reach the creative / alternative audience for this podcast. So,
and plus, you're not wearing glasses, so there you go.
Not today. I probably should be though.
I mean, we cover pretty much all the spectrum now.
Yeah, we are. So if we were to sum it up for the viewers, it's brand, tech, which is Marcin. I'm brand, tech. Joel is marketing. And what we're here for is we are wanting to bring all the experience that we've worked so hard to gain in our lives. And I'd like to hear about you, Joel, specifically on this show, because we had an initial show, our first show, and we talked about Marcin and my background. So we want to hear yours. But this podcast is for those that want to build, that have a vision, that have something that they want to solve and for the world and execute on it. Because there's one thing to have a vision and a plan and ideas and all that stuff, but if you don't know how to execute on it, from the brand side to the technology side to the marketing side, it's just an idea. It's a wish. So guys, let's talk about that. And what I'm excited about this show, because we're just starting it, we need to hear from you guys what you want from us so we can help you. So just send us chats, comments, whatever. Also, be sure to subscribe and rate us. It really helps our show because we're just getting started, and we definitely appreciate the support, guys. So, all right, Joel, can you introduce yourself a little bit of what your background is and what do you do?
Yeah. So I am a digital marketer. So I work with a company called ASP Branding, which is more or less full service digital marketing agency. But I got my background actually is in video production, photography. I actually did broadcast audiovisual technician for a long time. Did some live events. Worked with some bigger names. I've worked with Big Sean. I've worked with Big Sean rapper out of Detroit. Also worked with Jack White and Alice Cooper. So those were some fun gigs to work on. But moved into marketing probably about 8 or 10 years ago now. Got my start doing social media management for a nonprofit organization that was just getting started. So typical nonprofit work, it's pro bono. But we were getting going and it was good experience, and kind of come to the point where I've built and closed multiple video and photo companies over the years. Did a marketing company that eventually got bought out, which was nice, and then ended up here at ASP.
Awesome.
Congrats.
What a track record. Big Sean, yeah.
Maybe
Big Sean's a rapper, right? Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we can ask Joel how he got here and how we met together.
Yeah. For us three, recently I've moved into the CEO role at our at our agency. And one thing I've always been good at kind of middle management. I've worked really well with small teams and leading teams and helping people grow. But actually running a business was something that was new for me, and kind of taking that kind of top leadership role. Especially I feel like in marketing too, it's very unique. So I do attribute marketing to kind of like a creative outlet in itself, because there's foundational elements, right? That, like, there's the sandbox that you try to play in. There's kind of rules to it, but then there's also the expectation you're going to break those rules. And so I feel like when you're working inside of marketing or working in like a creative agency, dealing with creatives can be difficult in itself. So I was a little nervous kind of taking the role. And I was like, man, I got to find someone or a group of people that I can learn from that have done this successfully. And then I was actually one of my clients. He follows Brad Lee a bunch, talks about him all the time. And I was like, I've heard of this guy. I've seen some clips online, went and checked him out. And I saw, he's got this fraternity group. Oh, that might be cool. Let me go check it out. I think they were touting like a 60-day money back guarantee. So I was like, all right, I got nothing to lose. Jumped in the group. And in the first session on a Thursday night, it was 2-hour long session. I think we ran like an hour and a half over. And I'm just sitting there at the end of the call, just like my head spinning, all these things that I didn't know that I needed to know, or I should be looking at this, should be looking at that. Everyone talking about their business and the strides that they're making and the systems they're putting in place. And I was like, man, I'm not doing half this stuff. We really got to figure this out. But that was the group. And then, Marcin and Marcus, having you guys in there immediately, like, I'm finding, all right, who are the people that are most connected? Who are the people that have, a lot of value to offer to the group? And then how can I connect with them? And then how can I add value back to them? Because if I can ask for a phone call and you want to spend 20, 30 minutes of your time on a Google Meet or Zoom or whatever, the expectation for myself is that I can bring something back to the table and add value somehow. And I think that's where Marcin and I originally got our call. Marcus, I think we did the same thing, where it's like, hey, let's learn about each other. How can we help each other out?
Right. Amen. Awesome.
Marcus, I'm going to add something on this point because it goes back to digital networking. I've spent the last 3 years going like crazy, flying all over the US, chasing conferences, meeting people, shaking hands, spending a lot of time on flights, hotels, different cities. And the last 6 months really have moved over to what I call digital networking, where a group like ours, some of the people we might have met online, like with Joel or with you, Marcus, we met online actually through a client, through a project. We told this story. But my point is, for any business right now, like even with us, we're executing on a podcast because we believe that 2025, guys, is all about long form, all about podcast, authenticity, and being out there, because it costs you zero. So what I want to say, think about going to conferences. Obviously, go to them, meet people. But before you go there, try to warm up and meet people digitally. Digital networking, that's something that I coined on this podcast. But I believe that if you can do a hybrid of digital, and I would say, I don't know, we can talk about it. I would say right now, at least where we are with our business, 80% digital, 20% physical.
80% digital,
20% physical.
Yeah.
Warm up with digital, and then connect with a very high touch physical, meaning we're going to meet in Vegas. Joel, I know you're not going to be able to join us this time, but from all of the people from our virtual groups, we're going to go and meet up. So just wanted to wrap up this point on that.
What's funny is I went on ChatGPT and I said, okay, what is the best way to build a brand in 2025? You know what I said? I mean, this is ChatGPT. I'm sure there's an angle here, but yeah, it said it's all about content. It's all about digital handshakes, being out there, being in front of the camera, giving value, sending value out. 80-20 rule, right? 80% value, 80% content that helps people, 20% like a 20% would be just to advertise or whatnot.
Transactional
like,
based content.
Yeah. Like, dropping your book link or something, but 80% of the time should be, helping people. And that, I was meeting with a client the other day. Is one of my clients I help with branding and design and stuff. And, she was frustrated because there's so much to do. And, she just felt a little stuck and she didn't know where to begin. And I said, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you write down 50 ways you can help people based on your experience, based on what you do as a business? Just write it down. Don't worry about the money. Worry about how you're helping people. Then that's where we start, right? Because if the more people we can help, obviously the more value we're going to bring. And the more value we bring, the more that customer will see us as valuable and they'll pay us for that value. So I agree with you, Marcin. Absolutely. And yeah, we all met virtually, right? So we're advocates.
Can I add something about qualifying? And maybe Joel can add his 3 cents, because I'm all about meeting new people. I love meeting new people, but there's just so much time that I have with running a business, investments, marketing, and we need to scale. We have our families and engagements, responsibilities, duties. So with that, you also need to be smart with qualifying, and with making sure that the people that even get connected to us, like I'll give you an example. I was on a call with someone, I have a lot of calls, but this particular connection, probably not even qualified to do business with us. And I'm spending with our team 45 minutes to an hour with that person. They're not qualified right away, but and my team tells me, hey, finish. Boom, let's move on. And I'm like, okay, let's finish that. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, there is a relationship. And it's not with all the people, but sometimes, just with your energy and just with what you can bring, maybe with your network, sometimes that helps. So with qualifying, what I mean is, how do we, because as Will said, we only have two arrows in our quiver, time and money. So how do we manage that and optimize? Because all of us, we are already going in the right direction. Now, how do we manage our time? Because we do have access to leads, we do have access to different distribution channels like this podcast, and we decided to do this podcast because we believe in it. So in terms of qualifying, what are you guys doing and seeing?
That's a great question. Joel, you want to hit that first?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that, because honestly, I'm kind of in this point right now where I'm trying to revamp how I qualify my leads, and not just from a transactional base, but kind of like what you were saying, Marcin, is like there could be a relationship there, because it's something that's interesting is I have two partners over at the marketing agency. They also have two other businesses. They have another one that deals with mental health counseling down in Austin called Atomic Souls. And then there's an IOP that they started called Awkward Recovery. So for people that are in addiction recovery, after they come out of detox, they need to kind of transition back into life. So this it's an intensive outpatient program that then helps them kind of, hey, here's how you manage these things. Here are some connections. Here's how you build a community around yourself to stay sober. And then that in itself, though, has taught me a lot in how we deal with our leads, because there's a process that they have in which, hey, we'll field phone calls for leads that come to us. If we're not a good fit, we're going to find the good fit for you. And that in itself generates a ton of trust with those people. So if they ever come back around, they already have trust in the brand, and they'll be like, yes, I want to go with you because I had a great experience. You guys helped me out so much. All of these positive things came from it. Mm-hmm. On top of that, when you're in a community like ours, where we have so many businesses and business owners that could have an adjacent thing that could be a good fit for this lead that came in, for me to be able to add value to someone and send them a lead that ends up working out for them and is a positive thing for them, that to me is worth paying for a lead. To an extent, right? You don't want to go running ads for just other people. You want to bring in some leads yourself. But that whole process of, okay, can it provide value to someone I know? Is that an investment that I can make into our relationship? But also, Marcus, that book that you recommended to me recently, the Manifesto. What was the name of that book?
Oh yeah, that's Win Without Pitching Manifesto.
Yes. Yeah. Win Without Pitching. I mean, they go into it quite extensively in the book. I just finished it the other day, actually. So thank you for the recommendation. But they talked about having conversation early and often with potential leads about actual pricing. Have a minimum. Say, hey, we don't work with anything less than this amount on a recurring basis or on a project basis. And right there, let that be set up front so that there's no wasted time going into a conversation that you both wouldn't benefit from.
Right. So would you say what's your budget? Because I always avoid this question. I hate this question. Hey, what's your budget?
So I think so. What I've shifted to in our sales calls, or our discovery calls, I should say, is less, because 99% of the time they do not have budget scoped out. Our business focuses a lot on small to medium sized businesses, mostly small owner operator businesses. And they have never marketed before, or the people that they did market were like $300 a month. Drastic difference in price in what we charge for marketing. Mm-hmm. So they're like, I have no idea what to charge. And so I'll kind of push it back on them and say, okay, you've laid out this entire problem to me. You've got all these issues with leads. You've got all these issues here, and these need to be solved, right? And they'd be like, yes, those need to be solved. Okay. If that's the issue need to be solved, what's the value of that issue being solved? If you had 100 more leads coming in and your average order value for that lead is $1,000, so you have a $100,000 problem right now. So how much is it worth to solve a $100,000 problem?
That's right.
And then you can take it a step further and say, hey, if I told you it's going to cost $4,000 a month recurring to solve this problem, does that sound crazy to you? Like, oh my gosh, I could never pay that. Or is it like, well, if there's a return, I'd be willing to spend that. And that's how I'm able to get my range to then build out pricing packages that would fit their needs.
That's good. Thanks, Joel. Well, I want to answer Marcin's question real quick as well. I actually, from a brand standpoint, I want to start with, well, before I even bother with my, leads, who is my lead? Who's my ideal client, right? We got to start with who is our ideal client and define that. Because, we can find leads different ways, right? We can find leads through maybe automated forms on our site. We could find leads through, networking events or whatnot. But if we don't know who's right for us, then I think it's wasted time. So what do you guys think about? I mean, do you guys know your ideal client? Yeah. I mean, Joel, you just said it. You said small to medium size. Marcin, do you know who's your client? Let's talk about that. Who's best for us? Now, I'll tell you mine too.
Yeah, totally. So we're looking right now at financial, edutech, edtech, and healthcare. But it could be any vertical, because with software, really tech, it's very universal. There are some specific softwares, obviously, but we're looking at a company with employees. So minimum 20 employees to around 100 employees. That's our ideal, like perfect, sweet spot. And then we've worked with multinational companies like Canon. So we have experience dealing with these companies, but those type of businesses, like they hire 50 agencies. So it's just one of the companies, one of the vendors. Whereas if you're engaging with this sort of sweet spot client, they're part of their family. I call it, we get married in a way, because they're still a small to medium sized business. But in terms of revenue, they do anywhere from 20 to $100 million revenue.
Marcin, do you have like a revenue spot at which you want your client to be at in order to work with them?
Yeah, 20 to 50.
Okay.
But we look at the number of employees, and because that meets our minimum threshold most of the time.
Yeah.
Because if you have 20 employees, most likely you're ready to scale. If you have 100 employees, you're scaling at a different level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good.
Marcus, what's your ideal client?
So there's 3 levels to business maturation, if that's even a word, but 3 levels as a company scales. You got your starter, right? You got your medium size, right? And then you got your full scale organization that has over 1,000 employees. And my sweet spot is 10 to 50 employees, or someone that's making between 10 and 100, well, probably 10 to 50 million a year. That would be ideal. The hard part with me is I like helping people on the ground level because I'm a brand guy. But sometimes the type of branding I do, it's almost like these people have already kind of branded themselves. They went on Fiverr, got a logo, did all these, just what they could do, right? Just to get things going.
Yeah, do you know, Marcus, why it's called Fiverr, and Joel?
Why don't you tell me, Marcin? I haven't studied Fiverr.
Joel, do you know why it's called Fiverr?
No.
Because you need to hire at least 5 people to get to the right.
I was waiting for something like that from you. So
I was this is going to be something new that I didn't know about Fiverr. I'm so excited. He got me with the dad joke.
Here's the problem. When you're starting a business, you have one big problem. It's usually resources, right? Mm-hmm. But it's ironic. It's like you're trying to launch an incredible business, but you don't have enough resources to do it. So you just try to do the best you can. I wish every small business could go through my brand workshop. I wish they could do it from scratch. I mean, because it would help them so much to scale efficiently. This is just from my experience. And some do, and some love it, or they do love it. Everyone that I've worked with, they've loved the process, but it's hard to convince a lot of people to do something that has intrinsic value. They're going to see your return on investment 2-3 years down the line. And that's what brand is. If you're going to be very disappointed if you think you're going to get quick returns on brand. I mean, there is some small wins you can do, obviously, with ad design or things like that. Maybe a really good quality brand that gives you a good first impression. But as you scale into a medium-sized business is where I feel like most of the time people are ready to really do a big brand overhaul, really rethink, their culture, their pillars, their ideal client.
What's pillars?
Pillars is that which you build your brand around. It's really your way of thinking or way of doing, right? So
what would you say my pillars are?
Pillar? Boy, that's a good question. Scrappy. Scrappy business. You're rough and tough, man. You just go for it. No, execute all the time, I guess, would be a pillar of yours, because you just want to go. You want to execute. And so, but if you know that pillar, right, now you know how you're going to conduct your business. You're going to know why you're going to conduct your business. And so if you have some pillars in place, your brand pillars in place, it's the barometer in which you make decisions for your business. So, anyways,
I got a question for you on that though, Marcus. So
yeah,
that's one thing that for marketing we run into quite a bit.
Right.
We'll have a client come on and they'll be like, "Hey, I want to do all these things with ads and brand awareness and all this stuff." It's like, "Great, send me a brand kit." They're like, "I got a logo that someone made a couple of years ago." And it's like, "All right, well, what's your actual guidelines? How do you use the logo? Do you have different variations? Is there the fonts? Where are your color codes? Like, do you have those things?" "No, I've got a single logo file that's a PNG." It's like, "Oh, okay, great." But on top of that, what I find is when you're talking about these businesses, they've scaled to, into or coming in or established medium-sized business, and they say, "Hey, we want to do a brand overhaul. We want to change some stuff." The amount of time and effort and financial commitment that takes to do a huge brand overhaul when you have 20 people on staff, when you have a reach that's, starting to be regional or national. Do you think it's more beneficial for someone to spend the investment financially and the time at the beginning of the business versus doing it, 8 years in?
Yes and no. I know it sounds weird from a guy that wants to sell everybody my services, but I feel like to a point. And that's why I have a initial, like for small business, a brand workshop that I charge a certain amount of money for. It's on my site, miazzo.com. And you basically pay the amount. We can break up into payments, and you'll have a good starting spot for your business, especially at a small level, where you can then build a lot of momentum from. Who's your client? How are you going to talk to them on your website? I mean, everything that we come up with will basically allow you to build all your marketing copy from, and how you operate as an organization or a company, even at a small level. And people notice. People notice when people do this for their company. This is from my customers. They're like, "Wow, everything's so clear. People understand exactly what I'm giving them. They understand who I am as a company, and it just makes the yes so much easier for me. Thank you." So yes. I think to a point, but when you get to become a medium-sized business, you don't have the bigger problem that those type of companies face is now being efficient with their design assets, being efficient. If there's like 20 people touching the brand, we had the problem. I'm not going to say the name, but I worked for $1 billion company. I was a brand architect for, and we did a whole rollout on $1 billion company. And we're talking tens of thousands of employees. Imagine what your brand's going to look like if you don't have order to it.
Yeah.
It's disastrous. You have multiple people touching. If you don't have order to your brand at that level, get ready for disaster. It's going to be a visual circus. So I would just say, look, at a point, do the small. If you're going to do something well, I say. And if you're going to start your company, have some order to your madness, especially with your designs, the reason why you operate, all those things. And that I can help with. So hopefully that answered your question.
I have a question for Joel, since that's the first episode, but that's episode number 3 of the Vision Room. Joel, what would you say? Because it's cool that, we're recording the podcast. We're going to have awesome, cool, beautiful thumbnails. We're going to have beautiful graphics, beautiful intro, outro, logo. But what about who's going to see it? Like, how are we going to distribute? How are we going to market? Because now we have 3 awesome guys with completely separate but overlapping skills. And I think just probably hearing this podcast, it's worth to any business owner, I would say $1 million. Just subscribing to this podcast.
Wow,
Why?
Thank you, Marcin.
Go and hire a senior marketing guy. Go and hire a director with 25 experience working with the biggest businesses in the world, such as PayPal. Go and hire a guy with a team of 25 developers, skilled in AI, custom web apps, custom web, development, streamlining operations, automating, CRMs. I mean, go and hire people like that. That's going to cost you at least $1 million. You come to us, you got a package. And again, I'm not selling, I'm just saying, what's the value of you just being part of just listening here? But now we need to disseminate like Jesus, we need to go find disciples. How do we market? How do we disseminate our, because we're subject matter experts. How do we market this now? How does that work?
Well, we have some ideas, right, Joel? We're actually already talking about this.
Yeah, definitely got some ideas. I mean, obviously, just like anybody out there with a podcast or thinking about doing a podcast, I mean, again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. There's foundational pieces to any marketing. There's things that, these are must do's. This is just how you play the game. So, I mean, social media, you have to do long form content. You have to do short form content. You have to distribute it across the platforms. You have to have engagement. If you want to take a step further and you want to, pay for reach, pay for engagement, you can do that on different platforms. But ultimately, like, I think there's, if you can build a community aspect around it, that bulletproofs it. Because there are podcasts, the fly by the night podcasts that pop up and they're down all the time. I think the average podcast only lasts about 7 episods.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you make it past 7 episodes, guys, we're doing really good.
Let's go. We're already at 3. Come on, man.
But that's what it is. So like the biggest thing that, I hope that we can bring to the table here is not just our expertise, but building a community, helping people who have small businesses or who want to start businesses or who are entrepreneurs, helping equip them the best we can with the information that we have. Learning from someone else's mistakes is always way cheaper. So, everyone's had different experiences. We've all made different mistakes. There's always different angles. There's different industries, all of that. But if you take the foundational elements and you apply it to how you're doing business, then you can skip a lot of the growing pains and get to the next growing pain that you didn't hear about. It's much better to have a small amount of meaningful growing pains than a bunch of unnecessary ones.
That's right. So I'd like to pose this then. Let's tell the audience who our ideal client is for the Vision Room. Anyone want to take a stab at that?
Go ahead, Marcus.
No, I'm not going to.
So that leaves it to
I'm
me.
I'm going to ask you that.
Is that what you're saying?
You're going to answer the question. Yeah, Joel, who do you think the perfect ideal client or audience would be for this podcast?
Yeah, I would say, again, someone who's who wants to start a business or just has started a business. I would even venture to say all the way up to someone who is kind of teetering on almost becoming a medium-sized business to where, hey, I've got some employees. I don't really know what the next step is. I've hit a peak. Maybe I've plateaued a little bit and I don't know where to go from here. Let me start researching and trying to find some resources to help kind of change my thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
Quick side story. I had a conversation with someone from the group today. We were just sending voice messages back and forth. And we were talking about his business and marketing and foundational pieces and things like that. And legitimately, I was not trying to sell services at all. I was just like, hey, dude, I've helped companies that have the same type of brand you have. You're a sales guy. Think of social media content like this and not this daunting task. Think of it as you're selling your product. You're selling you're selling your brand. Think about that, make a video on it and then put it out there. And he's like, man, I've never thought about it like that. That just unlocked everything for me. It's the simplification of all that. So that's what I hope, is that we can find people that kind of need that small shift in mindset to help take them to the next level.
That's huge. Marcin, you want? Yeah, go ahead and add. Yeah.
We mentioned about execution, Marcus, on the previous podcast.
I remember.
That's what we add. Whoever wants to become part of our community, if you're a business owner, if you just want to join the forces here, maybe you want to become a guest, we can host a guest, guys. Do we have capability?
Yeah. So you're hitting secondary and primary, right? So it's like, who's our primary audience? Who's our secondary? Who's our, ideal guest?
Yeah, we want to stay connected because we believe that. I said that when we started. I don't know if that was recorded, but life has meaning in the context of relationships and like Brad. I mean, you guys know, you've been in business. Relationships, that's where it's at. It's all about relationships. So whether you, as Joel said, like, I'm like, Joel is saying, oh, you're starting a business. I'm like, well, I don't want to have to deal with headaches. Like, I have no time. I do want to help people. Yeah. But I have no time to spend with someone who doesn't have any revenue. I mean, I need to know, do you have investors? Do you have people committed? Because I'm ready to go. But who's going to feed our employees?
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Well, I'll end by saying this. I think Joel was on the right track with defining that it's probably people that have a vision that don't know where to start. They just want to build a great business. They have this great idea and they just want to take it to, to the stars, right? So that would probably be the primary. The secondary would probably be someone that is, if you've gotten to a medium-sized company, you're doing pretty good. I mean, that you should be patting yourself on the back. That's a huge accomplishment. And usually people like that kind of have an idea. It could be by accident, right? But usually not. Usually there is some strategy involved. Usually they know what they want to do and they know who they are. I think, yes, we can always get a little help, right? So I think you're right, Joel. I think it's mainly small businesses that really need a community so they can take their business to the next level. I think the people that are medium-sized businesses could be probably the perfect people to have on this show, or be partners with us in some way.
Yeah.
So I'm
excited to dive into the case studies too in future episodes of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, right. the technology, the marketing, the branding, and dive into the details of this stuff. Because I think there are some people out there that are going to want to dive into the weeds in these three different categories, and I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, me too. And I will say this: people that are operating the old way of doing business and needing to go 2025, right? How do I use automation? How do I use AI now? I hear all these buzzwords, but I don't even know how to put them to work.
How do I market? How do I market?
Yeah. How do I market the right way? Right. So I think there's a lot of opportunity.
How do I leverage?
So I want to plug that our idea, one of the ideas we have is we want to do an academy. We want to do some type of community or academy that we can help. You've seen this before. You got do it with you, do it for you.
Guys, we should do a WhatsApp group with the Vision Room. So basically, whoever is listening to this podcast, and we should send it basically to all the business owners. Have a WhatsApp group, and then we'll be sending them to the fraternity. We'll be sending them to all the other groups. Again, leverage. So, guys, something that I've learned: you only have two arrows in your quiver. One is time. The other one is money. How are you leveraging that?
I like how you whispered on that one.
That's a lot of passion there.
It was. I like that.
He's gonna use that for social media. I know that for a fact.
Yeah. No, I'm super real. Dude, I'm with you, Marcin. I think relationships are everything. There's that quote that you're only 3 people from anyone you'd ever want to know. And if you don't believe that, test it out. Open up your phone book, think of any random person and think of who would know who that would connect me. And I've done that before with some, there's no way I'd have a connection here. And I was like, oh, you know what? They actually might know somebody that would know their agent. And it's like, oh man. So community is everything. Put the time and effort in.
I'm going to tell you a story why I love Marcin so much. Why he's actually, I call him my brother that I don't have. He's my brother.
Oh, thank you.
So, and remember when we first started hanging out? Marcus, there's a conference. You got to come to San Francisco. Come on out here. Come on. I was the only, I think, designer in the entire room. I'm like, why am I here? Right. But then I realized, oh my gosh, Marcin has a gift. He knows when opportunity is knocking. He knows that if you're the only designer in a room filled with engineers, what do you think is going to happen? You're probably going to get noticed, right?
Yep.
So what I love about Marcin is his gift of networking. I actually do love networking too, but I'm just gonna pat Marcin on the back. He really stretched me when it came to doing that, you know. And it's all about building relationships. The more the more hands you shake, the what?
The more money you make.
That's right. The more
now
hands
also
you
that we
shake,
have
the more money you make.
Joe as well. Like, guys, I think this is an awesome idea to be leveraging our time once a week, cost you nothing. We have cameras, cost you $500, those microphones and all that.
Yep. This whole setup was $1,400, what I have. And so worth it.
Why, the question, so to kind of wrap it up, why isn't every business doing that 2024 and then 2025? There is nobody doing that. Nobody.
And to that point, Marcin, and we can cover this in a future episode too, guys, but our whole we have internal processes for our clients in which you can take a podcast episode and I can show you how to break everything down. You do one 30-minute episode, we'll give you a month's worth of content. I'll show you how to schedule it out. I'll even give you the Google Sheets. You guys saw the content calendar today for the podcast. We'll give it out to you for free. You know, we'll put it in the link when we do episodes in the future, and you guys can use it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, the Vision Room, we're going to have a website pretty soon, and there's going to be resources and stuff, Joel's stuff, my stuff, Marcin's stuff. We want it to be a resource haven for you as you're starting your business, as you're getting your vision off the ground and running. So, well, guys, I think this was a good third episode. What do you guys think?
Amen.
I love it. I love, Joel, that you're part of the trifecta, and I am just so excited for what's to come. It is December 13th, 2024. And with that, we want to wish everybody out there a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we hope that you can join us on other episodes in the future. Anybody else want to say anything?
Happy holidays, guys. Let's roll.
Let's roll.
And now the music.
See ya.